Welcome to all.
Well, thank you, Richard. I kind of asked for this because I'm trying to encourage and promote the 21-day challenge, and just a little bit of a history so you have a better understanding of why and how it got developed and why we're doing it. The original 21-day challenge, equity challenge, was developed by a group out in New England called Food Solutions New England. And they did it in response to a community need to deal with and better understand the Black Lives Matter movement. And so then in 2019, the Washtenaw County United Way approached Food Solutions in New England because they saw a need in Washtenaw County to do the same kind of program. And so they took that program, and the reason why they did it is there's some interesting statistics about Washtenaw County. In 2015, they were ranked the 8th most economically segregated metropolitan area in the United States. They ranked in the bottom 8% of upward mobility for children whose parents were in the bottom 25% of earners nationwide. 60% of the African American population lived in low opportunity areas with limited job growth. There was a 35-point gap in third grade reading tests between white and African American students. There was a 10-year difference in life expectancy between blacks and whites, and a 16-year difference in life expectancy between whites and Latinos. And that was alarming statistics for Washtenaw County. And so that was the premise of what they wanted to do and why they implemented it. So just before the pandemic, in January of this year, they initiated the program. And they had over 5,000 participants. And based on their pre-survey information and their post-survey information, the Michigan Association in United Ways decided that they wanted to make this program available to any local member United Way, to make it available in their community. And so let me talk a little bit about the results that Washtenaw, they were fortunate, it was pre-pandemic. So when they concluded their program, they had a post-conference day, invited all the participants that wanted to attend, where they kind of did some brainstorming about, now that we have this information, what can we do with it? So the survey was a result of that. They had over 1,500 people attend their conference and talk about what kind of proactive things could be done in Washtenaw going forward. And that United Way in Washtenaw County has moved on a lot of those issues, and it's part of their agenda of what they're going to do going forward to try to improve the equity situation in their community. So let's talk a little bit about the results that they found. 86% of the participants said they learned more about themselves and their community. 45% of the participants responded, "It shifted my way of thinking." 43% of the participants said they learned how to get involved with advocacy and making changes in their community. And 40% said it helped their employer or their team or their group address issues of race equity and social equity. It shifted how they interact with others in the community, and it helped them engage with people of different backgrounds. So when the Black Matters Live movement kind of exploded on the scene due to the George Floyd incident, and now the incidents in Portland, and now in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Part of the United Way Worldwide at the 1st of August was to make this same program available for staff members, just United Way staff members. So I was fortunate enough, I just concluded that program last week on Friday that the United Way Worldwide offered. And I was, after the first couple of days of participating in it, I was sold. I was one of those people that didn't realize my own personal prejudices, my own personal biases, my own misunderstanding of institutional and interpersonal racism, of white privilege. And it did. It dramatically impacted and affected my thought process and what I can be doing in my community going forward. So I was convinced that we should offer this to our community and encourage people to participate. So the Michigan Association of United Ways, just after the United Way Worldwide announced their program, made it available to all the local member United Ways, which we are a part of. And so statewide, the campaign was supposed to start on September 8th, but any local United Way can delay it and defer it and do the program at a later date. All of the daily prompts and daily equity challenges, we already have them, so I can customize them. The plan, the Michigan Association 21-Day Equity Challenge is a bit different than the one that was provided by United Way Worldwide, in that the UWW's was more specifically about the Black Lives Matter movement and racism. So the Michigan one, the one that we're using, is what I call more Michigan-centric. It's more personalized to our communities and more familiar with what might be happening in Michigan. It expands from not just the Black Lives Matter movement, but the LBGT issues, and it's more exclusive in its coverage of how we need to deal with all social equity issues, not just race and not just ethnicity. So I'm excited. I went through and looked at our daily prompts and the study material that's being given as part of the daily prompts. And I'm excited because for me, it's going to be a new experience. Some of them are the same that was used in the United Way Worldwide program, but there's some new ones, more Michigan centered. So from my standpoint, I'm really excited about that. So let me explain how the program really works. Just go to our website, unitedwaynemi.org, and you'll see 21-Day Equity Challenge. It's on our landing page. You click on that. There will be an introduction page about what are the topics that are going to be covered, why are we doing this. What we want to do is, and from my standpoint and our board standpoint, we're a non-diverse community, 97% white. And it's very hard for me, not having spent a lot of my life growing up in diverse metropolitan areas where these issues are much greater than they are in Alpena, Michigan, or in northern Michigan because of our lack of diversity. It's hard for me to understand, how should I be reacting to the Black Lives Matter movement? How should I be reacting to social equity issues, to the Alice population statistics that have just come out? And so part of my goal is to get this educational material available to more people. It is self-guided. Once you read the information about what the program is, then when you register for the program, you'll go to a separated email list. We're not using this to solicit donations or anything. It's being handled by a third party. They build an email file And then every day, starting on September 8th, you will get a prompt in your email box. We're not selling your emails. It's totally confidential. At the end of the program, we will delete all your email so that it's totally protected. In that email prompt will be a daily topic, and it's a short paragraph. As part of that, then it will give you options to self-study more of that topic information. It might mean articles that are recommended for you to read, and you can link onto them through the prompt. It may be a TED Talk, a short TED Talk. It might be a video from the New York Times. There are certainly a lot of video materials for people that are stimulated more that way. And there may be a podcast. So there's lots of resources available on a daily basis. And the program ask is set aside 15 minutes every day to do one piece of what is those options that are offered, whether it's watch an 8-minute video and read a 4-minute article, but take the time and study it further. Once you have those links in your email, they aren't going to go away. You can revisit them at any time in the future. If you don't find time that day and you want to do it on a following day, you have all kinds of opportunity to revisit the links and revisit the topic material. And it's as simple as that. And then the next day, you're going to get another short topic information on that day's topic, and then information that's available to you. So it's self-guided. Nobody's going to measure how much you're doing or how long you're doing. All that gets measured is whether you click and open the email. That's it. And what you do with it is up to you. I encourage you to set aside 15 to 20 minutes every day. I think you will find the process to be enlightening. It may change the way you think. It will certainly expand what you know and what you feel about the current social issues that we have in our society today. And hopefully at the end of the program, you'll get a post survey, and that post survey will ask you what features did you like the most, what impacted you the most, what can we do going forward, what can the United Way as a local United Way do going forward to help solve some of our equity issues that we have in our society. So that's basically a simple outline of the program. Just to give you a few Michigan statistics, there was new data that was just released as part of prior to the 2020 new ALICE report that shows that 40% of Michigan households fall within the ALICE population. Alpena County is about 40, we're above that, we're at 44% of the 45%. Montmorency's at 52%, and Alcona's at 45% of the households fall in the ALICE population, which means they're struggling to make ends meet. In Michigan, 63% of Black households fall within the ALICE population. So if you think about white households in Michigan, it's 36%. In Michigan, it's 63% of Black households. So we definitely know we have social equity issue just from a financial standpoint in our state. The percentage of Black households that are unable to make ends meet is almost 3 times higher than the antiquated federal poverty level. So hopefully this program will spur on people to become engaged in advocacy and for taking on programs and getting involved to try to solve some of these issues. There's solutions that are out there. And the first step in that solution is to understand the problem and to understand our own personal bias, our own personal prejudices, and to change our thinking so that, as they say in COVID, we're all in this together, and we have to count on each other to bring out a more just and more fair society for all of our citizens, not just white citizens, but all of our citizens. So there are some things I want to point out that I'm really encouraged that are in the 21-day challenge. In day 2, there's a topic. It's about personal bias, and one of the links in one of the exercises, which takes a lot more than 10 minutes, but you can keep going back to it. It's called the implicit hidden bias test. It was put together by a bunch of colleges to use as a tool with students. And now they made it available to the public to measure your own implicit bias. And you can pick topics of varying degrees. Your bias toward Black African Americans, your bias toward Latinos, your bias toward Asian Americans, your bias toward obese people, your bias toward people of different religious backgrounds, your bias against the LGBT community. So you can pick and choose how you want to measure yourself personally. Do I have implicit bias to these particular groups? It's a very interesting exercise. I mean, the first day I did it, I used the African American to see if I had implicit bias over African Americans. And then I kept going back to it because I wanted to measure my own personal feelings toward other ethnicities, other groups of people, other people with different lifestyles that I have. And it opened up an awful lot of thoughts about what my own personal biases are. So I encourage you on day 2 to take advantage of the implicit hidden bias test. It's very eye-opening. The other day that I want to encourage you, to look at my plan here, is there's a bunch of these that have tests that you can take, personal tests, and they are, I highly recommend that if it's an individual, one of the options is take this individual test, or I think it's during day 15, there's what's called an ACE success. You assess your ACE score. And the ACE score is how, and day 15 is about how adverse childhood experiences, and that's what ACE is, impact how you feel and what you think going forward. And there's a simple test that you can participate in. It's your own test to measure your own adverse childhood experiences. And do they impact, and how have they impacted your thoughts and your actions where you are today? So that's basically some of the program highlights. When you get the first day, you will also get a daily log sheet that you can use. It's just a simple log sheet that says, here's day 1. Read, watch, connect, engage. Read, watch, connect, engage, and act. And it just says make a note. What did you read? What did you watch? Did you connect to anything? Was it a podcast? Maybe it was something else that was recommended. Did you engage in anything different? Did you act any differently? And then there's a section for notes. I'd encourage you to do the tracking log because there are days in the program that are what they call introspective days. They ask you to go back and look at your log, look at your experiences. What was most meaningful for you? What impacted you the most? What we're trying to do is improve this program. One of the big suggestions coming out of the Washtenaw group is you need to do this more often. You need to continue this program. You need to get the community more involved in meeting together with diverse groups. I know the United Way last year sponsored an event called the Longest Table, and they purposefully invited diverse people in our community. They provided 100 free lunches, and they set the table on the bridge at the Rotary Island, and people met, and each table had a topic of discussion, and the whole idea was for the people that attended to engage with people that are in organizations they may not be involved in, to engage with people that of different religions, of different ethnicities, that they probably normally wouldn't engage with, and try to foster understanding and dialogue. That's something we were going to continue this year. We were scheduled to do it on the covered bridge at Island Park, and we got the approval to do that. So as soon as this COVID restrictions are released and we get closer to a more normalized social distancing environment, we know that's something we want to continue. We hope that the suggestions that come out of the 21-day equity challenge leads us down that path with recommendations of what can the United Way be doing? What can we be offering? What organizations can we be supporting that are going to improve our communities from a social equity standpoint? So that's my 30-minute spiel. I'm happy to answer any questions. If you haven't enrolled yet to participate, I certainly encourage you to. I think you'll find it to be a very interesting program and very, very worth the time that you spend opening your email and just taking 15 minutes to find out a little bit more about that particular topic of the day. I know the county library, this program was offered through the Michigan Association of County Libraries, and the county library staff here was offered the program. When I put it out that we were doing this, I got a wonderful email from Judy Stillion, and her email is, "I'm so happy you're doing this. I was able to attend this program through the Library Association," and she had one word: transformational. She said, "This program is truly transformational." So with that, I answer any questions that anybody might have.
Hi, this is Dick Bremer. Some of you are on Facebook Live, and there's a 20-second delay. So if you have any questions you'd like Joe to answer, please just type them in on Facebook, and I'll be monitoring that. There was a question on the Zoom chat from Tom, beyond race and LGBTQ issues, are there other topics that will be covered? Tom, did that get covered for you?
I was wondering about other equity topics.
Yes, Tom, let me just run through the topics. It's going to talk about one of the exercises, which I found, and this is the same thing from United Way worldwide, was privilege. And that crosses all boundaries. And it talks about, are you privileged? What is privilege? And they run through some BuzzFeed. It had posted a bunch of workshop videos that they did with students of all colors, races, gender, lifestyle. And they run through this privilege exercise. That's really good. There's one day it's about opportunity in Michigan, and that covers everything in all ways, not just racial opportunities, but how does opportunity exist for anybody in our society? education-wise, non-educated, and it's very well done. There's a one-day topic about healthcare and health outcomes. There's a topic day about environmental justice. There's one day it talks about nothing more than early childhood, and 85% of a human's development happens between the ages of 1 to 3. And how do we foster better childhood development? One of the other ones I found really interesting, and it was a whole day's topic, and it talks about being an ally. How am I an ally, and what does that mean to be an ally? And it talks about how do I integrate and react with people who are different than me, that didn't grow up in Alpena. They might have grown up in a metropolitan area. They don't understand my cultural upbringing. And how do I become an ally for all these people that are different than me, regardless of color, ethnicity, but they're just different than me. So yeah, it's more than just focused on the Black Lives Matter and racial equity. It's about all kinds of social equity. And if you go, I think, to our landing page and click on the 21-day equity challenge, you will see all the topics listed there.
So Joe, you can register right now on your on the United Way website, and then the emails will start coming then the 8th. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So Joe, I have a question.
Yeah.
As you went through this program, what would you say you learned? What was the most interesting thing about yourself that you didn't know that you learned?
Oh, my biases.
Where did they come? Where did the biases come from?
Probably culturally growing up. I always thought I was, my religious background and everything always, was God's tent. Everybody fits in God's tent. There's no exclusions. And so I always felt that I had a black roommate in college, and that was back in the late 60s. And his name was Rufus. And he was a paramedic from the Vietnam War going under the GI Bill, and became a very close friend. So I always thought I was pretty liberal and pretty open and didn't have any personal bias. And I went through that bias exercise. And I think a lot of it comes from you get hardened by what the media presents, and it's your perception. And so my perception of African Americans has become slanted because of what's being presented to me day in, day out in the media. And so I internalize that stuff, and I realize I am affected by that. I'm affected by what I see and hear, and not necessarily what I truly want to believe.
Yes.
And I need to work on that.
I understand. Yeah.
And the only one I wasn't biased to was Asian Americans. My landlords in college were two gay guys living together, and the one guy was an NC2A gymnast, a national champion, and this was the late 60s, and they couldn't come out of the closet or anything. So I didn't, typically as a Northern Michigan grown up, thrown into a more urban setting, I was never exposed to a gay person. I had no idea how to even deal with gay people. And so I never had the chance to discuss that until my room. And then I had a roommate who was gay, And he actually was working on his PhD in recreational opportunities for developmentally disabled youth. And he was one of the smartest guys I've ever met, nicest guys I've ever met. And it changed. I mean, it's your experiences. They affect you. And luckily, in the case of gay people, my experiences have been fairly positive. I'm assuming if your childhood or your growing up experiences are negative, it would change you.
Yes.
I had, when my grandfather died, my dad had the hunting camp, and there was only one friend that my dad let continue to come and hunt with us. And when he was 55 years old, he became an ordained Episcopalian minister. And prior to that, he had taught machine shop at Detroit Cooley High School for 25 years. And my dad and I could never understand, here's a man who is a priest, and he used the N-word more than any human I've ever met. And he had no respect for African Americans at all. And the only thing I can point that to is it's your experience. It's your experience. It forms your perception, and that perception becomes your interpersonal bias. And so, those are the things that I got out of it that I had to work on, my own personal bias. It also taught me I certainly can be a better advocate. I can be more supportive and be a better advocate, and I can do more. So.
Thanks. Yeah, and I wonder, obviously there's very few of us here on this, and I'm thinking, how do we get this message out? I mean, what vehicles do we have that to interest people in the importance of the subject?
Yeah.
I don't know. I struggle with that.
Well, if I can step in here.
Sure.
The Martin Luther King Committee is going to be starting in October a discussion series alternating between books and videos. And we'll be doing that online this fall. So that's going on, as well as the new Working for Justice group that Eric Peterson started at Fresh Palette, but I mean, it's a community group. So there are groups that are working on this in the community, and with both of these groups, I think we're going to be sharing resources that we can continue to educate ourselves with. So there's things going on in the community, which is encouraging.
That's true.
And Florence,
Yes.
I hope Dottie got a hold of you already about doing an all program on our MLK discussion series.
No, she hasn't. And this is really an aside. There's some communication problem between Dottie's and my computers, and I swear it's true. I don't know what happens, but we do not get messages. I don't get them from her. So I don't know, but yeah, I will. I'm glad that you said that I should call her.
Well, since both you and Richard are on, let me put it out before you. We would like to do a program on September 16th at 6:30 in the evening, introducing the MLK discussion series to the community.
I'll leave that up to Dick. The only reason I hesitate is because we're done with September, but if Dick is willing to add something to it, there's nothing on September 16th in the evening at all. We have camera club during the afternoon, but other than that, there's nothing on our calendar. So Dick, what do you think?
Well, we can always add it into our online published schedule. We have an online, and we're now trying to also get our paper version published and out to people, but we'll do our best to make sure it's communicated, Tom. So if you could email the information to the all@alpinacc.edu address, I'll get it factored into the September 16th timeframe. As I'm just working on that this afternoon, our schedule to get out for the next 2 weeks online.
Okay, I will get back a hold of Dottie. She's collected some of the information, but yeah, we'll try to get something to you yet this afternoon. And I want to say what Grace Lutheran is doing is that we've got at least half a dozen members of the church going to take the 21-day challenge. And we are going to base our Sunday morning adult class on it and have some discussion right away.
Tom, remind me, I do have a discussion guide that I can email to you.
Oh, that would be excellent.
Any group, and they encourage groups to set themselves up that way and set up separate discussion groups. And I have a guide for it's start off questions, how to respond when, it's well done.
Excellent. I would like that.
Let me send that to you. I'll give you a little bit of statistics. I told Dick this earlier, but I had a big ass goal when we did this. I said, man, I want to get 1,000 people. I am going to go out, send personal invitations, which I've done, to every township supervisor, every township board, the city council, the mayor, the city manager, the chamber of commerce, the community college, the public schools, the board of education. So I've sent these personal letters with an invite. And it's interesting because I got back 2 really encouraging ones just yesterday and the day before. One from the head of NEMSCA, and she said, I just want to warn you, Joe, I'm sending this out to my 700 employees. Can they be from just Alpena? I said, anywhere. I don't care. I said, I've got people enrolled right now from Florida. She said, so I'm going to highly encourage all my staff to involve. And then John Keller at DHSS, he did the same thing in a memo to all his staff, highly recommending them. I did get a call from the school board, which was very encouraging right after I sent the letter and said, unfortunately, the timing is bad. And I personally sent it to them because of the issues they have with one of their board members doing inappropriate or posting something on Facebook that made the board kind of disassociate themselves with him. And so they got back to me and said, we want to do this, but the timing's bad for us because it's the first day of school. We don't have a superintendent yet. We would like to do it when we get a new superintendent. We're going to make it mandatory for every board member to participate, encourage all staff and all teachers. So that made me feel pretty good. So today we stand at 245 participants, which I'm just excited about. I said my happy spot would be if I got 100. I know Alpena. It's self-guided learning. If I get 100, I'd be happy. And I'm at 245 today. So this is a great start. The program is mine. I mean, I have it, all the prompts and everything. So if there's an organization or a group that wants to do it at a later date, we can accommodate them and we will do that for them. I don't care if it's 10 people or 20 people or 50 people. If the timing's bad because of the September 8th start date, we'll be happy to do it later. So we have tremendous flexibility. If there's resources any of you have that you think would fit one of those topics, please send it to me because we can personalize every daily prompt that goes out. And there are a couple of things that I put in there specifically from the ALICE for our county, our surrounding counties. So I'm delighted at where we are in enrollment with 245. I think that's a great start. And if the program's successful, we can offer it again at a date that might be more convenient. I think a January date in the wintertime sometimes might be better. We'd certainly be happy to do that and update it with newer stuff that's out there.
Well, I've got several people on Facebook saying they'll participate, and thank you very much, Joe, thanking you, Joe, for your discussing this new program with us.
Okay. So I did post in our chat room, Dick, our website. And when you pull it up, it's right on the landing page. The button says 21-day equity challenge. You punch on that and you scroll to the bottom. It says, the last sentence says, click here to register. And all you have to do is give your name and your email.
Great. With that, Joe, we'll, unless you have some final concluding comments, we'll stop the meeting and go look at your webpage.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I encourage you to participate. I know you'll find it worth your time and effort.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks.
I know.